Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Storybrook, Maine. And once upon a time, we ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that, surprise, the person sitting next to you is your long-lost child. The people that are serving you on the plane happen to be the parents you never met. And don't tell me to calm down. I am perfectly fine. This is all normal stuff, and we're also all stuck in time.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Max Singer. Max, how you doing today?
Oh man, I am so excited, and I am glad you said we're going to Maine, because if this pilot taught me one thing, it's that no fairy tales take place in Boston.
Well, Max, this week, as I said, we are going to be talking about ABC's Once Upon a Time. Kicking it to Disney, but on prime time, and really making that monopoly live in the House of Mouse. But Max, before we dive into the show, can you tell folks what the TV Pilot's License is all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilots in making us want to watch more, and if they could be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And before we dive too deep into Once Upon a Time, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey there, frequent flyers. This week's episode is brought to you by Riverside. Riverside has been the go-to platform for TV Pilot's License when it comes to recording this podcast. You can record crystal clear audio and video all in one place, and when you're done, Riverside makes it super easy to edit your show and put together pre-formatted clips for social media promotion. Not a podcaster? Not a problem. Riverside is fantastic for hosting live streams, creating educational content, putting together marketing materials, interviews, and so much more. So whether you're looking to finally get that podcast idea off the ground or take your show to the next level, Riverside is the platform for you. Get started by clicking the Riverside link in the description of today's episode.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Once Upon a Time, and we're going to start off with what I'm going to call one of the most interesting synopsises I have ever found in my life. From the inventive minds of Lost executive producer Adam Horowitz and Edward Kitsis come to bold new imagining of the world where fairy tales and modern day are about to collide. That is the first time we've done one of these. And they're like, what's the draw? Not J.J. Abrams making Lost, but two executive producers who happen to make it. But Max, I'm curious, before you even dive into how this was made, what do you think about that as starting our tone for this episode?
I was really bummed when I learned that it's not the same Adam Horowitz from the Beastie Boys. I really thought Ad Rock wrote a TV show.
Could you imagine if that was his passion project, was I do really want to get into TV, explicitly making the fairy tales that Disney made famous, or even more famous, into live action representations of
there's
fairy
a
tales.
Beastie Boys ad for it on TV where it's we made a TV show about Snow White, ABC on Friday, and everyone goes, night! Yeah, exactly, you got it. All right, so today we're talking about the pilot of Once Upon a Time, which originally aired on October 23rd, 2011 on ABC, and the show's creators Adam Horowitz and Edward Kitsis. College friends who met while studying at the University of Wisconsin, Horowitz and Kitsis moved to Los Angeles in the early 90s, where they spent several years as assistants before landing a job on the remake of Fantasy Island. After spending time on the staff of Felicity, the duo lands a major league gig joining the staff of Lost in its first season as writers and producers. The pair would stay with the series for the duration of its run, earning a WGA award and an overall deal with ABC. During their time on Lost, they also wrote the script for Tron Legacy, released in 2010. Horowitz and Kitsis were inspired to try writing their own fairy tales dating back to their time working on Felicity. While they presented their concepts to multiple networks, they were turned down. Using their experience on Lost with some help from uncredited Damon Lindelof, creator of Lost, The Leftovers, and Watchmen, they retooled their show, shifting away from a classic damsel in distress. This is actually the second ABC show to feature Snow White characters in the real world after the short-lived The Charmings in 1987. That sitcom lasted 21 episodes. The show also drew comparisons to the comic series Fables, which ABC acquired the rights to in 2008 but never produced a series for. The writer of that comic, Bill Willingham, has said he does not feel Once Upon a Time plagiarized him in any way, and they are different stories even if they do share some common ideas. Principal photography for the series took place in Vancouver, with the nearby village of Stevenson and the town of Richmond serving as Storybrook, Maine. Today's pilot is directed by Emmy winner Mark Mylod, more recently known for his work on Succession and the 2022 film The Menu.
Well, let's dive in a little bit more and start this storybook of a television show with a lot of reading. This is definitely a show that was made before the concept of second screen viewing was a thing, because Max, I had to read almost a full paragraph before this show showed any human beings on screen.
There are multiple text cards in this. There are multiple things that you have to read. This is such a presentational pilot. This is such a proof of concept pilot. And like, listen, we're about to do a lot of heady shit in the next 42 minutes here. So just like, give us 30 seconds of using your eyeballs and reading what we put on the screen so you have any idea as to what's going on.
Yeah, and to start off with, hey, this is fairy tales, but what if fairy tales actually were based off of real things? And like, also, there's going to be some hard stuff. No, I did not write it down because it went a little bit too quick for me, and I refuse to use the pause button on some shows. But we are introduced to who seems to be our protagonist, which is Prince Charming and Snow White, in what is, it seems like a good starting fairy tale for us. But I mean, what do you think of this start and this exposition-filled beginning?
I was reminded of a joke from the musical Spamalot in which they refer to their set as a dark and very expensive forest throughout this whole pilot. Because this to me feels like one of the last shows of this genre that was made where it's on location, the sets are rich and vibrant, and it's not just everything is blue screens surrounding them on a studio lot somewhere in Atlanta, but now probably London, England. And there's an actual forest, and the costumes are rich, and the design is nice, and when we see CGI, it's very bad, and it does feel like the last of its kind of TV in a certain way.
I might need to try to find the clip of this, because after we see, the classic fairy tale of Snow White being awoken from her slumber from being dead, this is necrophilia in real time by Prince
Fridays
Charming.
on ABC.
Hell yeah. But by Prince Charming, just to then see this wedding moment, we see what I can only describe as a floor that moves like it is the airport moving sidewalk nonsense, because Lana Parrilla plays this evil queen interrupting this wedding, and I swear, as she is walking, because they use this giant blue screen floor, she's walking like 30 feet in a single step. It is the most insane thing I have ever seen in my life. After having this beautiful woodsy area that they probably used in in Vancouver, just being like, hey, we're in the fucking woods. Let's use real woods in this
Our
instance.
dark and very expensive forest.
Yeah, exactly. But for that to begin this show, and we're told about this curse, we're told about all this stuff, just to then be thrown into, we're on a first date in Boston. Did you find a little bit of whiplash from that moment?
Well, I do think we're skipping over a very important, slight half a scene in the middle there, which is that it's a boy reading a book on a bus. And I think that there is a fun moment there of, this is all imagination. This is all a story. This is all a fable. This is also being read. And now we're getting into, now this is the meat. Now we're grounded in reality. What's this going to be? And I do think that it's an interesting choice to lead off with this much exposition or this much non-linear storytelling in your pilot, and to begin in that world. It's we're going to give you this sweet treat. We're going to give you Snow White. We're going to refer to her as Snow White a bunch, and then Prince Charming is just man. I thought that was very funny throughout this when they're giving the vows. Do you, Snow White, proper noun, take man to be your husband? It's yeah, he's just man. He doesn't need a name. But yeah, I think it's a fun, sweet treat before this very grounded, very 2011 prime time date scene.
Yeah, and it's also one of the things that I find interesting is looking at some of the people who were cast in this, right? Like, you have Ginnifer Goodwin starring as Snow White, who's obviously going to be one of your leading ladies in this show. You also have Lana Parrilla, who's coming off of a few small guest spots, but still definitely doing well. And Josh Dallas as well, coming off of something, coming off of some good work as well. But then to be thrown into Boston after meeting this child reading a book, just to see Jennifer Morrison off of her stint on House, playing this, it seems like just a woman on a first date, only for things to go sideways oh so quickly.
This is a bizarre character reveal to me.
Yes.
Let me get this straight. Is she a bounty hunter? Does she work for a bail bond company?
She's a bail bonds woman, is I think the explanation that we're getting. But rather than focusing on the protagonists of this pilot,
no. Boston's a very liberal city. You could have a bail bonds woman hunting a man down who ate shit.
I want to talk about not only this man's spending habits, but I also want to talk about this man's first line on a date, which is, hey, obviously there's been some form of conversation before this date. For you to then ask, tell me about yourself, and I'm taking myself outside of the television of this all, and this being an exposition device, but more so saying, sir, if that is your first line on a first date after you've been talking to someone long enough to agree to something, we have bigger problems that we have to establish.
I haven't been on a first date in a very long time, but even I was like, oh boy, like pump the brakes here. Like let's lead into some natural conversation. Why don't you say something first? Why don't we find something mutual to discuss instead of interviewing the poor woman sitting across the table from you?
But we get this faux car scene just to learn a few truths about this character of Emma Swan, that she truly was telling the truth of. She is an orphan. It is her birthday today. And then, Max, we do get to the why is today different than any other day, which is something that in the back of my mind is very, very unrealistic, but does scare me every single day with the possibility of this, which is, congrats, you have a 10-year-old son that you never knew about. Well, I mean, is that a compelling why is today different than any other day for you?
I mean, I think so. It's the reveal of this woman's life. It's upending everything that she thought she knew. I also like that the kid who plays this part was like the youngest version of Bobby Draper in Mad Men. I don't know, this makes me chuckle whenever I recognize kid actors. It makes me laugh. But yeah, to take this person who, as far as we know, is a bail bonds bounty hunter, and to now say everything from your past is caught up to you. You're also getting this fantastical story thrown at you of what this child Henry is pitching her, of like what she needs to do, and you want to believe it as an audience member. It's more compelling to buy into it, to lean into it, than to be like, the kid is crazy. Like, it's not fun as an audience member to be like, the kid's a lunatic. So like, you want to believe it. You want to see Emma come around. You want to see her have some sort of awakening and heed this call in some way.
Well, it is, it's a common trope that we've talked about on this podcast, the idea of sometimes our protagonist is either one of two things. They are the person who has all of the hope and all of the belief, and trying to get the naysayers to believe with them. And sometimes they are the person that has no hope, no belief, literally thinks everyone is against them in the world. And we're choosing to do the latter rather than the former. And, when I don't believe in a child, I also like to take the 4.5-hour drive to the middle of Maine, where I don't know, it looks like there's seaside, so that might be nice. But how do you feel about us on our drive to Maine? We get the reveal of this is going to be a parallel storyline show where we're going to be going back and forth from this fairy tale into the real world to be able to better understand what in the world is happening here.
I just want to know if they're going to spooky Stephen King Maine or to like rich like Bush family compound Maine.
Are they going to Bar Harbor? Do you think that like Storybrook's closer to Bar Harbor? Or do we think that it's like closer to like the middle of fucking nowhere, basically?
Yeah, is this like inland Maine, like real woodsy? I mean, there's some water, there's some coast, but like,
yeah,
are we
exactly.
getting too far up the coast, or are we still in like Bar Harbor, Kennebunkport, Maine?
Are we going to be including Storybrook on our leafing trip this fall, or are we going to be like, I think I'm going to avoid that part of
Where
Maine?
can I get the best lobster roll in Storybrook? Is my
Yeah,
question.
exactly. There is a distinct lack of lobster roll and seafood in general in this show that is supposedly based in Maine. And that is one of the many things I have questions about based off of
To
this
get
pilot.
back to the question at hand, though, the one thing that is compelling me in this dual storyline is I really like the addition of Robert Carlyle as Rumpelstiltskin, because that guy was everywhere for a minute in the late 90s with like Trainspotting and the Full Monty. He had a
Full
big
Monty.
role in one of the Bond movies. I want to say it's
He did.
Is it Tomorrow Is Not Enough or Die Another Day? He's like one of the leads in one of those movies. And then I can't name anything he did for a while, so it's just nice to see him back.
The world is not enough.
World is not enough.
The world is not enough.
So it's fun to start to see like big, like scenery chewing character actors in here, because now they're starting to add like a layer to it. And of course, we need him to provide the largest exposition dump in history of how we're going to tie all of this together. And in your opinion, is just shouting out like, on the child's 28th birthday, it will return and the final battle will begin, a little too on the nose? Is it too much telling and not enough showing? How are we feeling about this?
That's a really solid question that I haven't thought about, because personally, I think of like some of the books that I've read that are sort of like, you know, the hero will return sort of idea, or even like something like Star Wars, where it's like, oh, there will be someone, and it doesn't happen to be Anakin. It turns out to be Luke. That will be the person that saves humanity, right? Sometimes we get a lot of vagueness. Sometimes they're like, hey, fuck you. This is exactly what's going to happen because you're a dum-dum and you need to hear that exactly from my mouth to your ears. And given the show that we are currently watching, I think that you do sort of have to spell it out, because this is something that, this is ABC on a Sunday night, right? Like, this is something that the entire family is supposedly watching. So I understand why they were like, let's make this as direct as possible, because there might be a 6-year-old watching and we want them to know birthday. She happens to, maybe she's 28, and then they get really excited when
I was
they
going to say,
find out.
it's not like they had Emma blowing out the candle on her cupcake being like, gee, what a way to spend my 28th birthday. Like,
They gave us a little bit of, it would have been actually a really interesting choice if they were like, she's 27, and then it's like the entire year leading up to her turning 28.
But I think you have a point in that you do have to spell things out, because we are dealing with a lot of family type of material here. Also, it is just, again, it's such a proof of concept pilot. So like, you do have to explain the world building. You have to give those title cards up front. You have to be a little thick with like, hey, Emma is probably at or around 28 years old. So just like, start to put some things together here, people. Like, start to understand what we are showing you that we're building.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I think Carlisle is such a highlight of this pilot in general. Like, the performance is so different than anything else that we get in this. And we get a ton of characters that you and I probably grew up with being familiar with, right? We get a Pinocchio, we get a Geppetto, we get the Evil Queen, we get all of the 7 dwarves. Like, they're throwing in so many Easter eggs our way to just be like, hey, you dumb bitch. Like, you remember this one? You're gonna learn more about him in this story. Like,
we get a random guy from Northern Ireland who lives in this town.
Do we want to talk about the Christian Grey of it all and how surprised
I absolutely want to talk about Jamie Dornan.
Yeah, the idea of we see Emma return this child, and then Jamie Dornan, I think this was pre 50 Shades of Grey.
It is, by a few years.
It just appears, and I'm like, oh my dear God. Like, that is going from a Disney focused like ABC show to, BDSM is hell yeah, brother.
Because I went down the Jamie Dornan rabbit hole after watching this, and I didn't realize how little he had to his name when he got 50 Shades. There's a lot to it. That was supposed to be Charlie Hunnam. He dropped out right before production began. Jamie Dornan got the role, but like he didn't have a ton of well-known credits. Like, this arc is the largest thing he has to his name when he gets 50 Shades, and of course then he has like this monster 21 with Belfast and Barb and Stark on a Vista Del Mar, because the man has range, let's be honest, people. It is just so funny that in small town, either spooky Stephen King or ritzy coastal Maine, there is just a Northern Irish sheriff. And I know we're explaining, maybe fairy tale characters live in this town. Maybe these people aren't all who they seem, as Henry's trying to allude to. But the Northern Irish thing bothered me more than the fairy tale thing.
Well, I'm surprised that you haven't brought up the man that's playing Geppetto with the most offensive Italian accent that I think I've ever heard in my life. Just being in Maine and happening to that's the funny part about this show, right? Is like we really have to, if you're watching this show, you as an audience member have to really suspend your disbelief. Like,
that all these people could be in Maine.
Yeah, exactly. That all of these people happen to be in a small town in Maine, and they have no idea how they got there. They've been there the entire time because of a curse. But like, it's just one of those things where, if I'm thinking of this on paper and I'm like, what in the fuck is happening right now? But also I'm just like, I can't look away from, like, is there just going to be someone who's like speaking in Scouse? Speaking with a Scouse accent because I want it. Like, yeah, give it to me.
And we've covered all of this without even getting to our top billed person. We haven't even covered another one of our main protagonists yet.
Which one are you thinking of?
I mean, I'm talking about the maid version of Ginnifer Goodwin with being Henry's teacher.
The idea of Ginnifer Goodwin, they're like, oh yeah, because if we look at it on paper, right, the idea of, okay, we have Snow White, and then we see her in Emma meets the Snow White character, and she happens to be this, I don't know, teacher who seems not that confident versus the fairy tale version of her who's super duper competent. But I like, even on my wait a minute moment notes, but I have to talk about it now. That bird that she puts outside is going to die. That is not native to Maine. That thing is going to perish in a Maine winter. Are you fucking kidding me? Or just an eagle's going to grab it and be like, this is unique and new. Like, absolutely. But like, what did you think of Ginnifer Goodwin in this show? She's given a lot to do in this, being like the main character for our fairy tale, but also being given a very different character in the real world of Storybrook.
This feels to me like such a trope of like, I'm the mousy, bookish teacher who gives the story to my gifted but troubled student to help them find a way to escape. And I mean, she's really, really good at that role in this, but it just felt to me very, very Matilda-ish.
Oh, yeah.
is the best way that I could put it. I just absolutely was feeling like she's playing Miss Honey in Matilda, more or less.
Holy shit.
And a lot of these real world parallels, the Maine versions, the New Englander, the hearty salt of the earth versions of these characters, all do kind of feel like that. Like Lana Parrell playing Regina Mills, Henry's adoptive mother in this, is so comically evil. And her looking into the mirror in her home and saying things like, a place where the only happy ending will be mine. It's like, I can't tell if that's like a very waspy New England thing or you're the evil queen when you say
Bax,
that.
we got an in-flight question, but I have to ask you this. what are you doing in Storybrook, Maine? Because it's not you as you currently are in the real world, but we have to think about what we are like in the New England world, the coastal Maine world that we are being forced to live in and can never leave.
Oh, so I'm like a jolly lobsterman, but like I've got a lobster pinching my nose and I'm running around while it's like grabbing my nose.
You're
What about
definitely
you?
also just Shmee from
Yeah, basically.
yeah,
I'm
you're
Shmee from Peter Pan.
from
yeah.
Peter Pan, and you're wearing the striped shirt unironically. That's just that's your uniform as a lobster man.
Yeah, I have a tiny beanie and a striped shirt on, yes.
Yeah, and I am also I'm a buffoon who happens to own a gym locally, and happens to think he's real hot shit, but also possibly illiterate.
Guest on.
So yeah, no, exactly. I've just guessed on. So that if you guys were wondering and were hoping to cast for the reboot, you guys can get our numbers. We're absolutely available and ready for it. But I mean, Max, I do want to take us back to the idea of, with this show and with us suspending all of our disbelief, like meeting all of these characters, trying to see the parallels between these characters, there is seemingly a hero heeding the call that they reluctantly have been asked to do after Emma gets in a drunk driving accident. Question mark / do we call it a drunk driving accident or a wolf-induced driving accident? Because I don't know,
depends
brother.
what lawyer you get.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the lawyer in Storybrook? Is it Mr. Gold, a.k.a. Rumpelstiltskin? We'll never know. But Emma finds out that Henry does potentially need her help. And there's this one moment, and we talk about these in a lot of these shows, where there's hey, here's the big lesson, or here's the big call that I'm going to ask for you. And we're asking a child actor in Jared Gilmore, who plays Henry, to do a lot in this pilot. Do a ton, actually, in this pilot, by being that call by the beach, asking, I need a week of your life to prove that I'm not losing my mind. I'm not talking out of my ass. Like, please help me. What did you think of that as a call to potentially continue going to Storybrook?
I mean, in terms of advancing the plot and the storytelling, I think that having it through like the whimsy and innocence of a child is easier than just Emma feeling like things are awry around her. Like it's nice to have like an innocent voice that helps bring her in, because it's the child with their book. It's the never ending story. It's all these things, and I do feel like it serves its plot well, and there's a lot of plot. There's a lot of exposition. There's magical wardrobes. There's so many things that we haven't even begun to cover, and we just do not have the time for. But to have it boil down to like, there's a relatable story of there is a child, her child, who is not having the life that she knows he could have. Her questioning if she needs to step into more of like a motherly role. There's a lot of like personal anecdotal questions here that I do think are honestly more interesting and more compelling than the storybook elements.
So I wanted to ask you about this, because I think this show, and this pilot specifically, has a very hard thing it's trying to do that it doesn't necessarily succeed at, which it wants to be a family show, right? I'll talk about this in history of the show, but we're talking about Sunday at 8 p.m. That's a very big time slot because you're competing with HBO, you're competing with football, you're trying to be that family-friendly option. But there's a lot of adult things that are happening in this show outside of like, hey, guess what? Your favorite storybook character, the prince, he's straight up killing people. Like, straight up, he's killing those evil guards because he's like, hey, I need to save my child. Like, we're talking about a closed adoption. We're talking about things that are potentially causing big questions and a little bit more serious. And do you think that this show, hypothetically, would be better off not having the fairy tale of it all in the exposition, and maybe we find out about it later in like maybe episode 2, or there's hints to it, but we don't really see it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that wants to agree with you, but I also don't know if you can sell this concept without seeing it. Like, I don't know if you can tease the fairy tale element and make it be a breadcrumb that gets sprinkled in there. And because, like, listen, we say all the time, we want to get to the fireworks factory. Like, if this show is going to be fairy tales are real and they have bled over into our world and they need help getting back to theirs because of an elaborate curse, we need to see that. But also, we need to see the human side, and we need to see Emma's emotional arc, which at this point does not have anything to do with the fairy tale side, really, even though she's in it for a moment in a way. So it's a difficult thing. It's like, I hear you. I think that it is the gift and the curse of this show.
Yeah.
You have to show it, but it's also incredibly complicated to show it.
We need to see a woman take one step and go 20 feet forward. We need to see some of the worst CGI that I've ever seen in my life. But I agree with you, right? I think that you're put in a very tricky predicament by trying to thread this needle. And I did not mean to do the thing that I just did. And we'll never talk about it.
Tune to YouTube to find out what Geoff did.
Yeah. But I mean, Max, we end this pilot with Emma checking into the inn and Henry seeing a clock he said has never moved. Move a minute. Maybe meaning that something is going to happen in the town of Storybrook. But Max, I want to bring it to things that we loved about this pilot. Is there anything that you want to give a little bit more shine to that maybe we didn't talk about in depth?
Man, I think if anything, and this is just kind of touching on it a little bit more, it's a very pretty looking show.
Mm-hmm.
And the set design is immaculate, both in terms of the like waspy madeness of it all and also the fairy tale elements. The costume design, the set pieces, it looks really good. Had this show come out any later, it may have looked like green screen everything, or like that real weird digitized filming that everything has now. And instead there's like a real rich color palette to it that's quite nice. I appreciate that the CGI isn't great. The CGI curse and Jiminy Cricket feel like TV. So yeah, this is just it's a well-made show, and it is pretty to watch.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It is very pretty to watch. There's something I really appreciate about the idea of, okay, cool, we have Little Red Riding Hood. She's going to be in this. Cool. How are we going to sort of nod to it without it being like shoving it down your throat? Absolutely. And the show takes that, I think tries to take it as seriously as they possibly can, of making it so it's not like, hey, you're going to choke on realizing who this is. Instead being like, oh, there's small nods. Like, Regina Mills having apples and talking about apple cider, which, like, yeah, a little heavy-handed, but still I was like chuckling to myself of like, yeah, because she's the evil queen. Like, that's absolutely why. Like, my dumb brain loves that shit. But Max, I've been holding this in the entire time. I have to talk about wait a minute moments. The wigs on this show are some of the most abhorrent things I've ever seen in my life. I'm so angry about who chose to do. All of the wigs are bad. Whoever did the wigs for Jennifer Goodwin deserves to be like shunned to hell, because my dear God, yes, I know she cropped her hair and like, yeah, she has that is hard to put a wig around and add something to. We didn't need to do what we did in this show. Yes, I will be throwing clips of some of the wigs on this show over my voice because you need to see them too. You need to see how bad the wigs were in this pilot. And I understand wigs are expensive, but I'm pissed off because you can get a good wig. I know you can. You're Disney. Max, what about you?
I'm sorry, but again, what the hell is Emma Swan's job, and what does it have to do with the rest of this pilot? The only thing we get out of it is this one line to Henry, which she's like, I can always tell when people are lying, and you're lying. And that, like, you could have given her a much more normal job. It felt like they didn't know what to do with her in the real world, at least in this pilot sense. I don't know beyond this, but it's just such a bafflingly specific career choice to give a 28-year-old woman in Boston. I don't get it.
So there is a part of me that just sort of is like, what if we just made her a cop, right? Like, what if we made her a cop that like goes undercover and stuff like that? Or like, just say, hey, she's a bounty hunter. Like, fully commit to something that's not like a sect of something else. Like, embrace it. Like, have some fun. Like, it would be interesting to be like, oh, she's a cop. Because I don't know what her skills are. How are her skill set? Like, what is her skill set going to do to help her in Storybrook, Maine? Because right now, I don't, other than her truth radar, I don't know what that is.
She could be a detective for
Yep.
Boston police. She could be a therapist or a psychiatrist. She could be any number of things that don't involve hunting men down who skip bail, to never be mentioned again in the rest of this pilot.
Yeah, well, Max, we do have one more question, and it's an in-flight question. This week's in-flight question comes from frequent flyer Sydney, who asks, is there a non-fairy tale Disney property you'd want to get the OUAT treatment? I didn't know this show had an acronym. If this show has an acronym, that's insane. And her example was Coco. So I'm going to give you the choice of how you want to do this. Do you want it to be like Disney has really had that trend for a couple of years of making things from animated into real life depictions, or you could have this like maybe they appear in Once Upon a Time and they have a storyline that's about this thing. So go for it. Tell me what you're thinking.
Okay, so if we're doing anything Disney, any Disney property, National Treasure is real. That goes without saying. We're living in a world of National Treasure.
Sure.
If we are sticking with more of just the animated ilk of this sort, let's bring in The Incredibles. Let's tie this world in there. I know that feels like common ground already, things that have already been treaded with what if superheroes were part of our world, but I like the world of The Incredibles a lot. It's very fun. I think it's just a fun retro world they created that Brad Bird did with that film, and yeah, that would be my choice.
Yeah, for myself, I was thinking what the dumbest answer was to this, Sydney. Personally, if Air Bud was somehow incorporated into this, that would tickle me pink a little bit. But if we're going animated, it's James and the Giant Peach for me. Like, that is such a great... that is a book that I love. It's a wonderful animated movie as well. If you have not seen it, it does hold up. I watched it recently, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that, and you know what? I'm gonna throw one more in there. A Kid in King Arthur's Court. Holy shit! Yeah, that would fucking slap. Every kid wanted to be a kid in King Arthur's Court back in the 90s. 1995 was the peak for Disney, and you cannot say that I'm wrong. You're wrong. Well, Sydney, thank you so much for that in-flight question. If you want to be like Sydney and have your in-flight questions submitted to the podcast, you can always leave us a voicemail at 213-290-1713. We also take text messages. And then make sure to follow us because we put out requests on Instagram all the time, and you can just reply or shoot us a DM at any time. Let's talk a little bit about the history of this show. 7 seasons and 155 episodes. What are you thinking, Max?
That's a psyop, right? Like, you're making up those numbers, right?
You ready for the real psyop?
Did I just like blink and miss one of the biggest shows of the 2010s?
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about it. Viewership for season 1 was their best as far as average viewers. They had 11.71 million.
There is an entirely another world out there.
Yeah, that had them at number 28. But then for the Nielsen ratings, so 18 to 49 is the normal demographic that Nielsen really cares about. They were number 12 of all of the shows. Like they did better from a Nielsen rating perspective. Like it's utterly insane. As far as time slots, I mentioned it a lot. Sunday at 8 p.m. for the first 6 seasons. Then Max, what do you think they did for season 7?
Moved it
to Friday at 8 because fuck you and your fairy tales. The show was primarily filmed, as Max said, in British Columbia. So, like, yeah, go to British Columbia. It's fucking gorgeous. There was a spin-off show, Max. Do you want to guess what it was about?
Just Jamie Dornan's Northern Irish Sheriff.
It was actually Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. So close, but yet so far at the same time.
And do I need to watch these to understand Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or am I good?
Ooh, could you imagine the tie-in? It's like somewhere in season 6, there's one mention. And
Talk about living in a fantasy.
And that's what gave Quentin Tarantino the idea. The series was licensed for syndication in over 190 countries. But if you're watching in the US or in the UK, you can watch on Disney Plus or Hulu. There were 3 novels for this show that were made as companion pieces, as well as a comic book series that was made as a companion piece to this show. But before I talk about awards, what's on your mind right now?
Where was I for the entire 2010s?
We were drunk in college for at least the first 3 seasons of this, and then I don't have any answer for you for the rest of it. Let's talk about awards. The show got 98 nominations and had 12 wins. That includes 7 Creative Emmy nominations for a whole myriad of things. There were a ton of People Choice Awards, 12 to be exact, 4 Nickelodeon's Kids Choice Awards, and Max. This show had 17 Teen Choice Award nominations. And you better grab your wetsuit, buddy, because we're going surfing on the coast of Maine, because this show won 3 Teen Choice Awards.
Who has a board? Who has a board? Who has a board?
Oh, that's a really good question. I do not have it up right now, but I think they got it for like best lip lock, which is hysterical. That is a category. Oh wait, no, here. I'm pulling it up really quickly. So the Teen Choice Awards for this show were won for Best Lip Lock for Jennifer and Colin O'Donoghue. The Sci-Fi or Choice Television Actress for Fantasy or Sci-Fi won by Lana Parrilla, and and then they won another Choice TV show, Fantasy Sci-Fi, for the year of 2016, which I believe was season 6 or 5 for that show. So,
surf's up.
So I have one last thing for you before we talk about landing this plane, and this is a TVPL first. So when I was doing research, I found an interview in the AV Club with Robert Carlyle, where they asked him about playing Rumpelstiltskin in the show, and he admitted that, hey, the show might have run a little bit long, and that while the first 4 seasons were as good as anything he'd been in before, if not better, the rest was a choice. So that is, I say that knowing that they have recently talked about rebooting this show as recent as 2024. So Robert, I don't know if you want to be on the reboot, but hey, they're trying. They're thinking about it real hard. But Max, that's the history of the show. And before our plane comes to a land, I have 2 questions for you. The first is, you want to spend more time in Storybrook, Maine? You want to watch more of the show based off of the pilot and the pilot alone? And then our second question is, boy, is this Disney trying to replay the hits and making you think, oh, I want to watch Snow White again. Ooh, give me Beauty and the Beast, and give me Pinocchio. Give me Little Red Riding Hood. Give me all those fairy tales that I'm used to. What do you think about major networks leaning on IPs versus giving us something new and original, even though this could be considered that in some bastardized form.
Oh man, well to quote ensemble member Jiminy Cricket, I was wishing upon a star for this pilot to be over. I am absolutely not watching more of this. And I'll just go right to your second point. I don't need more of Kingdom Hearts, the TV show. I don't need more of this idea of let's just take as much stuff as we can and throw it all together because we can do it. That doesn't feel compelling to me. It doesn't even feel like good fan service. It just feels superfluous, and to me it's not necessarily telling a compelling story. Just like throwing as much stuff against the wall and seeing if it sticks is not the same as a real in-depth emotional character arc. And no, there is nothing about this that made me want to come back or feel like it needed to be told in a different way with a different company and different characters.
Yeah, we need Kingdom Hearts, the actual TV show based off of Kingdom Hearts, because that video game fucking slaps. But let's talk about it. All right, based off the pilot, this is not a great pilot, and I say that because I've watched a decent amount of this show.
There it is.
And I can say that there are some really good creative choices that were made with this show where you see the writing actually be, hey, what if we did a sick little twist on the fairy tale that you've grown to love? For example, yes, did they have a Frozen storyline on this show? Yeah, they did.
I'm out.
All right, bye, Max. But was it something that they were like, hey, let's make it a little bit better and a little bit more compelling? Sure. The Peter Pan storyline they do on this show is absolutely fucking insane. I'm just going to say it. If you are someone who likes to partake in edibles, boy, sit down and are you going to have an interesting time. But this show feels like Patton Oswalt's filibuster from Parks and Rec, where he's just like, yeah, I fully expect there to be a Star Wars sequence in this show. Like they're just being like, yeah, there's a galaxy far, far away that also has to deal with the fairy tale world. But like, here's the thing that I find so interesting about this show. We talked about Jamie Dornan being in this show, but like you look at some of the other people that were in this show and you're like, who knows where the bodies are buried, sort of thing, right? Because like Giancarlo Esposito is in this show for multiple episodes. In addition to like Tom Ellis, who's had a great career, Sebastian Stan, Rebecca Mader, McKenna Grace, but this is when she was like a child, so like she's just getting those acting credits. But hell yeah, you get those acting credits. Like there's a lot of people and recognizable faces in this show that make you say why, but also I'm curious and I need to know more.
Between the syndication of this show and the incredible money that the two Zootopia films have made, Jennifer Goodwin has bought several houses thanks to Disney.
She owns at least 3 islands. Also, Max, your boy, Skylar Gisondo is in this.
Oh, Skylar Gisando's in this?
He's in this show. So, like,
well, why didn't you lead with that?
Yeah, no, you can watch him in this before you see him in Focker-in-Law, coming to theaters very, very soon. But, Max, that brings our flight to a land. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you want to be found. So, Max, where can folks find you?
You can find me getting the crispiest clam basket in all of Storybrook, Maine, and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And if you're 10 years old and you possibly are my child, don't find me, please, especially if I don't know about you. That's not cool. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Run Geoff Run. You can find the TV Pilot's License anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube at TV Pilot's License. If you have a question about the show or for our next episode, always shoot us an email at tvpilotslicense.com. Or you can submit your in-flight questions at 213-290-1713. We take text or voicemail. Thank you to the folks who are reviewing, subscribing, who are listening to our episodes and sharing with friends. We just had JW Crump, who randomly was like, hey, by the way, listen to an episode I was on. And I was like, JW, what a gem of a human. If you like anything Top Model, I recommend Podleadum, but also we did Drop Dead Diva with JW while Max was on paternity leave, and boy, was that a treat in itself. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you again soon. Keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial. And remember, when you wish upon a star, you end up in Storybrook, Maine.
Hi-ho.